Now, maybe for Lions fans, there was some hope for 2018. Unfounded hope, but hope nonetheless, I guess. You had Mopey McGrabberpuss as your new head coach coming over from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, which we know is so well known for sprouting out fruitful products. But, sometimes it's one of those things of be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Couldn't wait to get rid of Jim Caldwell. You did. And look what you got as a result. Instead of seeing a couple of games better in the win-loss column, you got a couple of games worse. What are you going to do? 2018 was kind of one of those lost seasons for the Lions. It really started off at the beginning of the year. First couple of games, things looked really rough. And it never really recovered for this organization. Like, there were moments and there were flashes that they played better, but in general, they just were not a very good football team. And I think for a lot of Lions fans, that probably isn't all that surprising. Now, what was a little surprising to me was for a team that really wasn't that good last year and has a lot of gaping holes in their roster, they weren't all that incredibly aggressive in the offseason in terms of free agency. Now, sure, they spent big money on Trey Flowers, which you would believe would help upgrade the defensive line, help upgrade the pass rush of the Lions defense. You get a gift from the Packers as they release Mike Daniels, so you're able to bring him into the fold as kind of a late free agent ad. But other than that, you're bringing in guys like Danny Amendola. Like, not a ton of what appears to be real impact here. You can see with Amendola and especially Trey Flowers' familiarity with that Patriot way, which obviously head coach Matt Patricia is trying to put into the fold. But I was kind of surprised for a team that probably needed to shake some stuff up and make some big splashy moves. Other than the Trey Flowers signing, you just didn't get a whole lot of that. And heading into the draft, I will say I really loved the pick of T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end from Iowa. You need to help Matt Stafford, and one way to do that is with an all-around versatile tight end like what Hawkinson is. I could imagine Matt Patricia looking at TJ and seeing him as a version of Gronkowski, giving him Detroit's version of Gronkowski. And while Hawkinson is not nearly the physical specimen from an athleticism and explosiveness standpoint that Rob Gronkowski was in his peak, there is no question that Hawkinson was one of the very best players in this 2019 draft class. He's a day one impact type of starter in the National Football League and should be a premier level tight end for the next 8 to 10 seasons. You look other places in the draft, Will Harris, the defensive back, Jelani Tavai, the linebacker, Austin Bryant, the defensive end. Not surprised that the Lions invested multiple picks on the defensive side of the ball. You look at a couple of these guys, they feel like kind of Patriot way type of picks. Here's the interesting thing about the Patriot way. Without having Bill Belichick to execute it, and without having Tom Brady to help you implement it, just how successful is the Patriot way really going to be? Matthew Stafford isn't no Tom Brady. Matt Patricia most certainly is not a Bill Belichick. Just saying. Now, looking at this roster heading into the season, what do I like? What do I not like? I look at their defensive line, and I anticipate it being a strength of their defense this year, especially with the addition of Trey Flowers. I really did like that signing for the Lions, legitimately. I thought you have money to spend. You need to go out and get guys that are familiar with your system, guys that can produce. Trey Flowers can do all of that and more. I really, really like that. In general, again, I think this defensive line unit is going to be pretty good. I think the secondary is also really solid. Not a bunch of stars or real notable names, but I like this secondary, even if in 2018 the defense didn't ultimately play that well from a statistical standpoint. I do like what they have. And then I look at their specialists. I look at the special teams. I look at their kicker, their punter. You can laugh at it all you want, but coming from a Bears fan, you know how much I would value and treasure having somebody the quality of Matt Prater as my kicker? Just saying. So you look at special teams being a third of the game. The Lions are pretty good at both kicker and punter, and that means something. Unfortunately, I think they have a lot of question marks in a lot of other areas. Number one, the ability and the commitment to be able to run the football. Now, I think Kerryon Johnson came in and did some really nice things last year, although he missed several games due to injury. But ultimately, when you look at it, he had a high yards per carry average, but he didn't tote the rock, I think, nearly as much as he needed to. And this has been a problem for the Lions over the years, is relying too much on the passing game, not having enough ability to be able to consistently run the ball and balance out the offense, create some type of physical identity. Are they going to be able to do that more? And just as importantly, if not more so, are they going to be willing to do that more? Because it's clear to me that Patricia, being a defensive-minded guy, feels like his best way to win is going to be with a great defense. And in order for that to work, you have to have a great running game. Now, it's going to be helpful if Kerryon Johnson can stay healthy for an entire season. And if he can, and if he can produce at a similar yards per carry clip as to what he did last year in a little over half a season, then some of the narrative that I'm putting out here about the Detroit Lions may very well potentially change. But until it's going to happen, it's not going to happen, if that makes sense. They also need some consistency in the passing game. Like, I look at the weapons on the outside, and you got Marvin Jones and you got Galladay. Yeah, are they anybody that's really going to inspire or strike fear in opposing secondaries and opposing defenses? I don't really know. I don't think so. I don't think they have great depth on the outside at the wide receiver position. I think Theo Riddick's gone, so that takes away a weapon that you utilized out of the backfield in the slot as a receiver. Where is that consistency going to come from in the passing game? Because, yeah, Matthew Stafford is one of those guys that he can put up big numbers, but sometimes a lot of those numbers come in stat pad for time, if you will. They come in garbage time, and they come when his team is down 2 touchdowns, and he kind of fills up the stat sheet. That's not all a reflection on him necessarily. I'm just saying that's the way it is. So this team's going to need to be more consistent, more productive when it matters in the passing game. I look at him defensively and talk about that linebacking core. How long is Jared Davis going to be out with his injury? Then you look at him outside of that. Are there guys that really inspire a lot of fear or going to make you worry? Is Tavai going to be a real difference maker in that linebacking core? It feels like that's an area that they could really use a playmaker on the outside, and I'm just not sure that they have it right now. Looking ahead to the schedule, I think you look at the first half of the season is going to determine a lot of things for the Detroit Lions, just like it did last year. Got out of the gate slow and didn't really recover. And if they get out of the gate slow this year in this division, they most certainly are not going to have a chance to recover. Their early schedule is not easy. They go to Arizona week 1, and while you might laugh that off, you got a new rookie quarterback, a new rookie head coach, playing a team coming off of being the worst team in the league last year, ended up with the number 1 overall pick. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be motivated. That's one of those week 1 games that you wouldn't be surprised if the Arizona Cardinals beats the Detroit Lions. So that's a dangerous game for the Lions in and of itself. Then you host the Chargers week 2, have to go to Philly week 3, and then host the Chiefs in week 4. Not exactly an ideal opening first month of the season. Then you look the next 4 weeks. This is where if they start off slow, they're going to have to recover, but they got to go to Green Bay. Then they host Minnesota, host the Giants, go to Oakland. I look at this opening stretch of schedule for the Lions, and I feel like if they go 3-5, they're going to have to feel incredibly fortunate about themselves. This has, to me, all the makings of a team that could potentially start out of the gate 2-6 or 1-7. And if they do that, like I feel like they potentially can, they're not going to recover, and this is going to be another lost Lions season. I'm sorry, Lions fans. I'm just not that optimistic about your chances this year. I just look at your team, and it's just kind of malaise, kind of like, ugh. Without the true stars or difference makers to get over some of that malaise in some of those other areas. I think this is probably a 5 or 6 win team that's going to be bringing up the rear in the NFC North, ending up with a top 5 or top 10 pick in the 2020 draft, at which point in time, considering you're on the wrong side of 30 with Matthew Stafford, potentially if you go 5-11 or 6-10, you can't keep Matt Patricia at this point. What's the future of this Lions organization going to be? Are you going to be looking at a total and complete rebuild, trying to deal off Matthew Stafford, trying to bring in a new quarterback to build around? This is a critical season for the Lions as much as it is the majority of other teams in the National Football League. You can make the argument that every season is important for every team. But when you look at both the here and now and the future for this Detroit Lions organization, if things go well, then you start to feel better about Matt Patricia and the direction that you're going. But if they don't, he's got to be shown the door. And once you show him the door, who are you going to bring in? And then what will that mean for the draft in 2020? Sorry, Lions fans, not trying to hate on you. Just realistically, I don't see why there's much to be excited about with this year's Lions team.